In a little over 3 weeks, NASA is going to launch that rocket to the moon with humans on board. This is the first time humans will leave low Earth orbit and visit the moon in over 50 years, and the first time a woman will have ever made that journey. They will spend 10 days on board and fly around the far side of the moon, becoming the first people this century to see our home from the depths of space. This mission will lay the foundation for NASA's plan to put boots in lunar soil once more, and this time they're setting up a base to stay. These Artemis missions mark a turning point in the future of humanity. Once a moon base is established and consistently occupied by astronauts, humanity is no longer confined to our pale blue dot. In that moment, we become a multi-world species, and the moon will be our launch pad for exploring the cosmos. In this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes at NASA's Kennedy Space Center with unparalleled access to show you everything you need to know about Artemis II.
We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and in hope for all mankind.
What you just heard were the final words spoken on the moon by Apollo 17 astronaut Gene Cernan. We leave as we come, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and hope for all mankind. The Artemis II mission is NASA's commitment to do just that. I was invited out to Kennedy Space Center by NASA to tour their facilities and see the real Artemis II moon rocket being rolled out to the launch pad. That was a few weeks ago now, and NASA has been dealing with a few issues with the fueling of the rocket, so they are now targeting April for the earliest launch of Artemis II. We haven't been to the moon since 1972, and honestly, it's not easy. So let's learn about the rocket, the spaceship, the crew, the amazing science experiments being run on board, and ultimately try and answer the question, why are they going back now after all of these years? I even got to chat with the astronauts themselves and NASA's new administrator. This is a big one, and I think we should start with what I was actually in Florida to see, the rocket. Right behind me is NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS rocket. It is the largest and most powerful rocket ever made to carry humans. This thing is nearly 100 meters tall. That's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Now, once it's fully loaded, it will carry over 700,000 gallons of cryogenic fuel. That's more than an Olympic-sized swimming pool. During launch, this insane rocket is capable of producing 15% more thrust than the Apollo-era Saturn V that first put man on the moon. Now, as you might have noticed, this thing doesn't look like most of the other rockets you might have seen. It looks pretty similar to the space shuttles, and honestly, that's by design. Of course, you can see that orange core stage. That is the main fuel tank. It carries the bulk of the fuel, and it has 4 RS-25 engines burning beneath it. And then you have the 2 solid rocket boosters on the side. These things will provide the initial kick that the rocket needs to get off the pad. And amazingly, NASA says that they produce over 75% of that initial thrust kick to get it off the launch pad. Going up further, there is the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, basically just the part of the rocket that gives the spaceship a kick once it's finally out there in space and to get them on a trajectory for the moon. And finally, right up there at the top is Orion. That is where the crew will be during takeoff, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a little tower on top of it, and that is actually the launch abort system to save them should anything go wrong during launch. The SLS rocket is truly unimaginably huge. They even let me go inside that huge building where the rocket was constructed. They actually put it together kind of like a Lego set. All of the parts get shipped here to Florida and assembled in the vehicle assembly building. The camera doesn't do that place justice. It's genuinely one of the largest buildings in the world by volume. Those doors that you can see the SLS rocket rolling out of are literally the biggest doors in the world. And the crawler that the rocket is stacked on top of is the very same machine that took all of these Saturn V's and space shuttles out to their launch pads too. It moves really slow. The entire process took around 12 hours, and they need to be careful. Any unwanted vibrations or movements could see the rocket being damaged, but they made it to the launch pad safely. The very same launch pad that Apollo 8 left from. They have launched one SLS rocket before during Artemis I, but this time it's different. Artemis I tested the rocket, but this time there are 4 heartbeats on board headed for the moon. Okay, so you have a rocket to get the astronauts into space, but now you need a spaceship to keep them alive. Let's go meet Orion. Orion is the first spaceship that humanity has built for a truly deep space voyage. It contains the crew module, where the astronauts will live, sleep, and eat during their journey to the moon, and it can accommodate up to 4 crew for 21 days. And while it looks pretty big from afar, you better like your roommates. It is just 16.5 feet wide and 11 foot tall. This gives them about 60% more space to work with compared to the Apollo missions. Attached to the crew module is the European Service Module, or ESM. This is basically the life support system of the spacecraft. The ESM is responsible for things like electricity, thermal control, air, water, and of course, propulsion. Its solar panels can collect enough light to power an entire household, and it contains 33 engines for when they need to perform maneuvers. Orion will keep the crew safe all the way from launch to when it eventually re-enters our atmosphere. It has the world's largest heat shield of its kind, strong enough to withstand crashing back into the Earth at 25,000 miles per hour. And then once they have slowed enough, 11 parachutes will release, allowing for a gentle splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. While I was at Kennedy Space Center, we went inside the facility where Orion gets constructed. It's in here where they meticulously test each spacecraft, making sure it's ready for the vacuum of space. What you're looking at are the real Orion crew capsules that will be launched on Artemis 3, 4, and 5. And you're also looking at the crew capsules for Artemis 6, 7, and 8. That's because these are actually reusable. Once they collect them from the ocean, they refurbish them and prepare them for another journey to the moon. To make this possible, they have to have an extremely advanced heat shield. Think of the heat shield kind of like a one-time use brake pad. It sacrifices itself to return the crew back to Earth safely. What I'm holding here is a real panel of the Orion heat shield. This piece is the outer surface that burns away as they fall back to Earth, and this piece is the protective structure that is fixed to the crew module. It's this unique design that allows them to reuse the capsules once they land back on Earth. Now you've met Orion, the spaceship that keeps our astronauts safe. So why don't we meet the crew that's flying on board that spaceship? The commander of Artemis II is Reed Wiseman. He's responsible for decision-making and coordinating the crew. Wiseman is a former test pilot in the US Navy that became a NASA astronaut in 2009. He flew to the ISS as a flight engineer in 2014 and spent 165 days in space, even completing 2 spacewalks. Wiseman is the guy you want when a mission is a full systems flight test. Now let's meet the pilot, Victor Glover. Glover is a flight test pilot with over 3,500 flight hours in 40+ aircraft. He piloted Crew 1 on SpaceX's Crew Dragon Resilience, spent 168 days in space, and completed 4 spacewalks during his mission. He holds multiple master's degrees and will be the first person of color on a mission to the moon. Now let's meet Christina Cook, one of the Artemis II mission specialists. Cook spent 328 days in space on board the ISS, a record for the longest single spaceflight by any woman in history. She has completed 6 spacewalks, including the first all-women spacewalk in history. Cook holds bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering and physics. She started out working at NASA Goddard on space instruments, spent a year doing science at the South Pole, and worked on various other NASA missions instrumentation, including the Juno probe to Jupiter and the Van Allen radiation probes. Christina Cook will be the first woman to ever visit the moon and see it with her own eyes. And finally, we have Jeremy Hansen, the second mission specialist for Artemis II. Hansen is from the Canadian Space Agency and will be the first non-American to ever visit the moon. He is a fighter pilot and missions operations leader with degrees in space science and physics. He was the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class, and amazingly, this will be his first mission to space. Sounds like you couldn't really ask for a better crew to me. Now, just before we send our astronauts to the moon, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Odoo. If you don't know by now, Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that gives creators and entrepreneurs tools to simplify their day-to-day management. They have an e-commerce app that you can use to set up a storefront and start selling products in just a few simple steps. For example, if I want to start selling this Hubble Space Telescope model that I 3D printed, I could use Odoo's e-commerce configurator to easily set up the website, and Odoo will then use AI AI to turn all of that information into a beautiful website. Then it's as simple as adding the products, picking a price, and attaching some pictures, and just like that, the website is ready to sell. And the best part is, your first app with Odoo, whether it's e-commerce or one of the other 70 apps they offer, is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. They'll even throw in a free domain for an entire year. So click the link at the top of the description to check Odoo out. Now let's go to the moon. The Artemis II mission will last 10 days, so let's go through day by day and break down everything they have planned. Launch day will be one of those rare moments in human history where everything seems to stand still. The whole world watching on to witness history. Decades of work from thousands of individuals all around the world leading up to this moment. The Artemis II crew will suit up, putting on their bright orange Orion Crew Survival System suits. These suits are only worn during launch and re-entry, and they act kind of like mini spaceships, keeping the crew safe should anything go wrong. Once suited up, they will exit here at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout building, headed for their rocket. They will be loaded on board, sealed inside, and the tower will be cleared. 4 humans sat right up there, waiting to go farther from home than any human has ever gone before. And then it's time for that famous countdown.
Hydrogen burn-off igniters initiate. 7, 6, 5. 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1.
The SLS ignites. All 4 RS-25 engines fire, and moments later, the twin solid rocket boosters join them, lifting 5.5 million pounds of rocket off the pad. That's more than 16 Boeing 747s. Once these boosters ignite, that's it. There's no going back now. The rocket must fly. If anything goes wrong from this point onward, the launch abort system would have to pull the crew away to safety. 56 seconds after launch, and the SLS goes supersonic, breaking through the sound barrier. The astronauts on board will be experiencing 3 to 4 Gs of force pushing down on them during this ascent. 2 minutes after launch, and the rocket boosters detach 40 kilometers above the Earth. The core stage will keep burning for a further 6 minutes, pushing the rocket into space. The rocket accelerates faster than any other vehicle on Earth, going from stationary to 17,000 miles per hour in just 8 minutes. At 8 minutes and 30 seconds, the main engine will cut off and the massive orange core stage will fall back to the Earth. The Artemis II crew is now in orbit. The SLS has done its job, and now it's time to test Orion. Orion deploys its solar arrays and moves into a safe, high Earth orbit. It's here that they will stay for the first 24 hours of the mission. They are placed into a parking orbit where they can check all the systems and make sure everything is safe for the crew to fly to the moon. The Deep Space Network will test communication links with Orion, and they will make sure that the life support systems provided by ESA's crew module is working as expected. Orion also carries a laser transceiver that will beam large amounts of data back to the Earth, the first real test of a deep space mission using optical data transfer. They are aiming to downlink large video files or even 4K live footage at up to 260 megabytes per second. That's faster than some people's home internets and way faster than what radio waves are capable of. If this system works, we could watch the Artemis III moon landing in 4K. During this first day in orbit, they will also practice manual flying. They need to practice moving Orion around manually in space, doing their drills with the upper stage of the rocket that is still in orbit with them. This is going to be really important practice because from Artemis IV onwards, the crews will have to dock Orion with the Lunar Gateway. It will be the first time that anyone has manually driven Orion, and the crew's pilot Victor Glover will do the honors. Orion will perform an automated backflip to face the upper stage before the crew will use the hand controllers to slowly approach it. They will get pretty close, around 30 feet away, before backing up and doing another set of practice moves. After all the testing is done and all the checks are complete, NASA will give the go-ahead to continue with the mission and go visit the moon. It's on day 2 where this mission becomes a truly deep space voyage. Orion will perform a first burn with its thrusters to set the trajectory before the trans-lunar injection burn occurs. This is just a fancy way of saying that they will use the onboard thrusters to leave Earth's orbit and head on a trajectory for the moon. As they leave, they will pass through the Van Allen radiation belts, 2 regions in space where charged particles get trapped thanks to Earth's magnetic field. The amazing thing about the Artemis II mission is the path they will take around the moon moon is known as a free return trajectory. All this means is they are using the gravity of the Earth and the moon to do the heavy lifting and safely return the crew back home. Once they are on this trajectory, Orion will be coming home after swinging around the back of the moon no matter what. They could switch the engines off completely and still just float around the back of the moon and get home safely. This is partly to conserve energy and fuel, but it's also for safety, another insurance for the crew to return unharmed. But they need to be precise. If they get the angle wrong or are moving slightly too fast or too slow, they could miss the trajectory and enter an unsafe orbit. To make sure everything is safe, they will definitely perform a few correction burns along the way to the moon to make sure the alignment is perfect. During this second day, the crew will start to live and work normally. They will be sleeping on board, working out using this fancy rowing machine, and even starting some of the experiments that they will be performing during their 10-day mission. On day 3, the crew will continue their journey for the moon. They will be about here and they will have lots of work to do. Today, they will perform a CPR demonstration showcasing deep space self-reliance. This is all about showing that if something goes wrong, the crew can work together to save each other. Because out there's no medical evacuation. You can't turn around now. You are going to the moon, whether you like it or not. Day 4 will be largely the same. The crew will wake up, work out, and do some experiments. On today's schedule, they will perform another course correction burn and get an updated prediction of just how close they will be getting to the lunar surface. During the Apollo missions, the astronauts flew past the moon much closer to the surface, about 110 kilometers above the ground. Artemis II will be around 6,900 kilometers from the surface at their closest approach. This means they will be able to see way more of the moon than Apollo and many regions that have never been seen by human eyes before. And it's on day 4 that they will actually enter the moon's sphere of influence, where the main pull of gravity is coming from the moon instead of the Earth. Day 5 marks the halfway point of the mission, and tomorrow they will be flying past the moon. As they look out of their windows, the moon will now look significantly closer and the Earth is reduced to a small blue world seen floating in the distance. Today they will do a rapid suit donning demonstration, quickly getting into their suits and pressurizing them to practice for in the event that the Orion crew capsule becomes compromised. If Orion became unsafe, their suits would have to act kind of like their mini spacecraft. They are custom fit to each astronaut and have enough built-in tech to keep the astronauts alive inside for up to 6 days. It has heating and cooling systems, cycle systems for the oxygen and CO2, built-in communications, and even the ability to dispose of human waste out into the vacuum of space. They even have 6 days worth of food that can be drunk through a straw. Once their day of work is complete, they will go to sleep and prepare for the climax of the mission tomorrow, the Lunar Flyby. It's day 6 and it's time for the crew to fly past the far side of the moon. Only 24 humans before them have ever traveled here, and today they're going farther than any of them. They will prepare their cameras and get ready. They will only have 3 hours to perform observations as they fly around the moon. They will be taking tons of images and recording geology features, looking at craters, lava plains, tectonic features, all with their own eyes. This is going to be really important practice for when they eventually land at the lunar South Pole in later missions. They need to be able to accurately describe slight differences in shapes, textures, and colors for the scientists back on Earth to use in research. If you want to understand how big the moon will be in their window, go grab a basketball and hold it at arm's length. That's about the size the moon will be for the astronauts during their flyby. As they pass around the back of the moon, there will be a 30 to 50 minute window where all communication is cut off. The crew will be alone out there, radio silence. Just the 4 of them and our moon. This will be a really important test of Orion's autonomy. It needs to stay on course and keep the astronauts safe with no support from the teams back here on Earth. During that time, the crew will continue to take photos and videos of the moon, which will be transmitted back to Earth later on. And here's where all of that training will come to life. If a camera freezes, a lens fogs up, or they miss an important shot, they won't have the support of the ground team. But they have practiced for this moment over and over again back here on Earth, so it will be second nature to them in the moment. And right here is the farthest that they will venture from the Earth, 450,000 kilometers away from home. 100 billion people have existed throughout the history of our species, and no one will have ever ventured out farther from the safety of our planet than these 4 astronauts in that moment. They will be beating the record held by Apollo 13's crew, who made it to a distance of about 400,000 kilometers. At this point, they will get to witness an Earthrise from the moon's far side, just like Apollo 8 did. In 1968, when Apollo 8 astronauts snapped this image, something changed. It was the first color photograph of the Earth taken from space, and it quickly made headlines all around the world. The photo itself is widely credited with driving the environmental movement. It gave people context, humbling us by revealing our place in the cosmos. And just like that image inspired a generation, I'm sure the Artemis II crew will take their own Earthrise image, a reminder of the beauty and fragility of our planet. And then communications will finally be re-established with the teams back here on Earth. They will report back with all of the work that they've performed during the blackout and continue taking any images left on their checklists. And they've done it. They flew around the moon, and now it's time to come home safely. Day 7 will be a rest day for the crew, time to debrief and decompress after their visit to the moon. They will rest and discuss the coming days with the team and make sure everything is in order for the crew to return home safely. Day 8 will be pretty similar, just flying back to the Earth, watching our blue planet grow larger in the window. Day 9 is where the astronauts will start to prepare for their return to Earth, and in particular, Earth's gravity. Day 10 is the final day of the Artemis II mission. It's time to land these astronauts back safely on Earth. They start the day by going over the entry checklist, making sure everything is stowed away for splashdown. Every step needs to go perfectly if they're going to make it to the ground safely. They get back into their entry suits. This is the most dangerous part of the mission. Before they hit the atmosphere, they have to hit an invisible target, the entry corridor in the sky. To do this, they will make a correction burn 5 hours before entry to aim Orion just right. If they come in too steep, the heating and G-forces will be too intense, too shallow, and they can literally skip like a rock on a lake off our atmosphere, flying back out into space. Finally, it's time for separation. The crew capsule separates from the service module. The service module will be left to burn up in the atmosphere. The crew module performs a single burn, and now they aren't flying anymore. They're falling back to Earth. They smash into the atmosphere at 40,000 kilometers per hour, 32 times the speed of sound, fast enough such that the air in front of Orion is compressed so violently that it forms a plasma, glowing material around the heat shield. The heat shield is designed to withstand this immense pressure and burn away to protect the astronauts on board. During this time, they will likely lose communications. The plasma blocks the radio waves. Finally, as the crew makes it to 36,000 feet, the forward bay cover will open, quickly followed by the first parachute at 25,000 feet. The main chutes only deploy around 10,000 feet and significantly slow down Orion, allowing the crew to splash down in the Pacific Ocean, ready to be collected. As soon as the crew is collected, they will be assessed by medics and samples will be taken for the science experiments being run. And in that moment, Artemis II will have proven one simple fact. Humans can return to the moon once more, and it's time to go back. There are probably people watching this video right now who are dreaming about becoming astronauts one day, and we live in a time where that's a reality. Anyone from anywhere can dream big and end up among the stars. We briefly got to speak with the Artemis II astronauts, the crew who have achieved these momentous dreams, and Jeremy Hansen gave this advice for anyone out there wanting to become an astronaut and fly on a future Artemis mission.
The biggest thing is to set goals and to know where you want to go. But then you have to do one more important aspect, which is you got to share that goal with other people, because you don't do extraordinary things on your own, and you're going to shock yourself on how people show up to help you achieve your goals.
I just want to leave you with this. Don't underestimate just how amazing these missions really are. We're about to cross a significant line in the history of humanity. Up until now, humans have only lived, worked, and existed within the safety net of our beautiful world. But this is about to change. This is our first real step out into the cosmos as a species, and once it happens, there's no going back.